Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I am the teacher, Bronwyn Slate. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and on the television at Bell Express U channel 972. You're always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available from me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 9 till 10 in the morning, and we are wrapping up our 7th week of our 9-week course. We only have 2 more weeks left. At this point, you should definitely be submitting work for marking. The last day to submit work is June 10th, which is just in 2 weeks. So a reminder that the support questions, the ones with the pencil icon, are not for marking. They are practice problems. So you decide which ones and how many to do. If you're understanding a concept, feel free to skip the questions. That is fine. Use your time wisely. But if you also need more practice, let me know and I can send you more practice. You need to decide what is best for yourself. The questions are the ones with the key icon and are the ones to be submitted for marking. So these ones, you need to do all of them. So then I can mark them all and give you credit for all of your work and all of your understanding. You also, it is best if you can show me all of your work instead of just giving me a number answer. If you can show me your steps, your process, your thinking, this way I can give you the most marks. And I can, if you make any errors, you don't necessarily lose all of the marks. If you make a small calculation error or a small misconception, then I can just take the mark off for that mistake, opposed to taking a mark off for the whole thing because you just got the wrong answer. It also gives me information so that I can support you so that you can learn and improve on those mistakes. So the more information you can give me, the better. Again, the last day to submit all of your work is June 10th, and you need to do a culminating assignment. So it is best to get your work in as soon as possible so I can get it back to you so that then you can do your final culminating project and be done everything by June 10th or June 17th next week when we are wrapped up and closed. So please submit your work. So how do you do that? There are 3 methods. The first is to scan your work and send it electronically. You can scan your completed work in through the iPhone's Notes app or your Android Google Drive app. Both have fairly straightforward scan functions. If that isn't comfortable for you and you prefer to just take a picture, that is fine. You can do that as well. Then you can send it to me through either email at studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have a mailbox at our 74 Front Street location. We are the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. So you can put it there at any time. We continue to be closed to the public, but you can just put your work in there at any time and it gets checked and will be passed on to me and I will get it marked and back to you as soon as I can. Then the third method is to hand your work into your DEC. So your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name B. Slate Wahsa. So if you friend me on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you'll get notifications every time I upload one of our lessons. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded and I upload them to YouTube every week. So that is a great way to make sure you have access to them. Also, I have short videos on my YouTube channel explaining common errors and confusing concepts. So if you are struggling with something, that is a good place to go and check out to see if there's anything there that might help you. Math is an incredibly visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos, either joining me live through Zoom. Even if you don't want to talk to me, even if you don't want to ask questions, if that makes you uncomfortable, that is completely fine. You don't have to. You can just sit and watch. That is totally acceptable. If joining me live doesn't work, and so that accessing YouTube channel is also 100% okay. even if you can join me live, if you prefer to go on YouTube and watch the replay and pause things and work through it, that is completely okay. This is why I do it like this. If either of those options aren't available to you, if you let me know, then I can send you a recording of the videos so that you can still access them on your own time. But if you don't have reliable internet or something, then that can be a way that you can still access the visuals and get the full experience and set yourself up for the most success. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My email address is bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is B/Slate-Wahsa. The phone number at the office is 807-737-1488. My extension is 2209, which is working, and you can leave me a message, which I will get. The toll-free number is 1-800-667-3703. I work Monday through Friday, 9 till 4, and we'll get back to you as soon as I can. And then another reminder again that June 10th, 2 weeks from tomorrow, is our last day to submit work, and you need to have your culminating done as well. So reach out to me if you need an extension on your culminating. We can talk about it, but you need to reach out to me and let me know. And you need to have all your other work submitted so that we can get to that point. So please know that if you're hoping to finish your credit this year, that you need to reach out. We don't have markers over the summer, so things can't be rolled over into the summer this year. And you'd have to resubmit everything if you start up again in September. Totally fine if that's what works best for you. But if you're hoping to get it done this year, you got 2 weeks to get everything in. All right, so today is Thursday. We're doing a Throwback Thursday lesson. We're focusing on lessons 13 through 17. So at this point, it probably makes sense why we're reviewing, as we are coming closer to the end of our course, but still a reminder that Hermann Ebbinghaus in 1885 did a study and showed that we forget things really, really quickly. So we retain information only for a short period of time, and then we forget it really fast. And then we have a really low retention of that information. So we've been reviewing every week, mostly to be able to go back and remember more information and also forget it slower. So that is why we consistently review all the way back to the beginning of our course, so that now by the end of by this time, we can remember, oh, right, yeah, I remember what we did in Unit 1, right, what we did in Unit 2. This was 7 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, but I still can remember what it was because we keep coming back to it. But let's first activate our brains with some mental math. So we know that Mad Minutes were not my favorite. I was good at them because I'm great at memorizing things, particularly numbers, but they didn't set people up for success, but it didn't teach me any strategies for when I was doing things that I didn't memorize. So it meant that though I could do all of my 12 times tables, my 13 times tables, I didn't have a clue how to attack them because I didn't memorize them. Though there are some straightforward things that could have made it really easy for me to be able to apply strategies that would have been like, oh, I know my 10 times tables and my 3 times tables. Therefore, I can figure out my 13 times tables pretty straightforwardly. So we work on developing those sorts of strategies for all the arithmetic operators so that we can apply what we know to various situations. Our question today is 155, take away 98, and we are using the strategy of constant difference. So what that means is that we are saying that we're looking at the space between them is going to be the same no matter where, if I move my numbers around to more friendly numbers. So I like to think about this on a number line. So 155 and 98, that distance is the same if I shift my numbers a little bit. So 98 is not a very friendly number to subtract, but 100 is only 2 up from there. So if I go 2 up from 155 to 157, then this distance between the two is the same. That distance is the same between 155 and 98, and 157 at 100 is the same, which means 157 take away 100 is really easy for me to see that that is 57. That it can just 100 away is straightforward for me to see, which means that in the same, because my difference is constant, it is the same. I've just shifted the whole thing up a little bit. That means that 155 take away 98 is also going to be 57. Sorry, not 100. My brain. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Sorry, 155 take away 98 is also 57. And that's how using constant difference means that you can shift this, and you don't have to draw it out. You can just think of it mentally that if I just shift this up to and shift this up to, then I'm getting to this amount, which is more accessible for me to subtract. Or you can draw it out and you can shift it up, and you can shift it down. I could shift it so that it was easier. Either number I could shift focusing on instead of always focusing on what I'm subtracting away. I could have shifted this up to something that was more accessible. You pick what makes the most sense for the question that you're given or your situation. Okay, so we are going to do some highlights of what we've covered. Just quickly go over them, and then we'll do some practice problems. So a reminder, Unit 1, the highlights all the way back to Unit 1, 6 and 7 weeks ago, not years ago. Lesson 1 was earning income, and we looked at salary, piecework, and job advertisements, talking about a yearly salary, and so how much you get paid based on the year. Your piecework is getting paid based on how many jobs you do, how many pieces of work you do, depending on if it's mowing lawns or picking apples or sewing t-shirts. That's all piecework, usually piecework kind of payment based. Lesson 2 was looking at commission and hourly rates. So looking at how you get paid if you are getting paid hourly. So remember, our minimum wage is $15 an hour as adults. So you should be getting paid in a legal situation. You have to be getting paid at least $15 an hour in order to be getting paid something close to a living wage in Canada. And that is going up soon. The details, go back to that lesson to look at if you want to remember them. I don't remember all the details right off the top of my head. Then we talked about overtime, which is usually time and a half, which means if you work over your allotted hours, that you get paid more because you are working more than you had committed to, and therefore you get paid more because you are doing the employer a solid by working more. And then commission being a way that you get paid based on how much you sell. So that's often like car dealerships often work on commission, or real estate work on commission. If you go into a retail store, and all of the employees are trying to get you to be the ones to help you, that means that you're probably, they work on commission. They get paid based on if they make a sale. So that's another way of getting a payment. And then lesson 3, we talked about gross and net pay. And so gross is your total income, and net pay is how much you take home. There's standard deductions that come off of your gross pay that contribute to our society and make us a functioning society as a whole. And we talked about monthly expenses and how to budget a little bit. Then we talked about paying taxes. And so we looked at the paperwork that you need to do the taxes. And we talked about the tax brackets, those pockets, and how the more money you make, then you get into a higher tax bracket, which means that extra money that is in that second or third tax bracket gets taxed at a higher rate. And we talked about the hidden taxes of jewelry, cigarettes, and gasoline. And then lesson 5, we're talking about making purchases. So how to make change with the fewest coins possible. We talked about sales tax in terms of PST, GST, and HST. We talked about discounts and estimating those costs and how you need to calculate your discount before you calculate your taxes. All right, then unit 2, lesson 6 was buying decisions. So we talked about unit price and the best buy, how that financially, usually the unit price is the lowest amount. That's usually the best buy in terms of the money, but there might be other reasons why something else is the best buy. We talked about incentive programs and how points and systems are cashback, things like that can help make you want to buy something at some place or use a particular card or something. And we talked about currency conversions, focusing specifically on converting from Canadian to US dollars and back. And that we had to look at that rate, and that rate changes every day, depending on the market. Lesson 7 was simple interest. So this is when you're investing or borrowing and your interest is calculated only on the principal amount. So the amount that you started with, either that you invested at the beginning or you borrowed at the beginning. And that is used, the formula is I equals PRT. And if you're looking for the full amount, you need to do your P, which is your principal, plus your interest. So this one calculates just your interest. And then you have to add it to your principal to figure out the total amount. Then lesson 8 was talking about how to move from simple interest to compound interest, and how simple interest, again, is on the principal, whereas compound is on the principal and the interest is calculated. And we looked at how to do that through spreadsheets to see that connection. Then in lesson 9, we furthered our discovery about compound interest. So remember that it is calculated on both the principal and the interest. So it's compounded, it's getting bigger and bigger each time, either you're borrowing or you are investing. And that the formula is A equals P times 1 plus R over N, all to the exponent NT. And if you're looking for your interest amount, that you have to subtract your principal from your total amount. But this one, you calculate your total amount, and then you have to subtract it from your amount in order to find just the interest. And then lesson 10, we talked about banking transactions, looking at checking and savings accounts, different sorts of transaction types and codes, so that you can understand what your statements are saying and how online banking works, and how there are ATM fees. So be really careful about using ATMs that are not associated with your bank, because you're going to be charged fees, fairly high fees for that. And then we look at unit 3. So lesson 11 was credit cards. Sorry, how to apply for them, how to choose a card, and the true cost of borrowing. So how interest is calculated, and if you're not paying your minimum balance, or no, if you're paying only your minimum balance, then you're likely to have a really hard time ever paying off your entire credit card. So really it is best to pay off your credit card, the full balance every month, in order to not be charged interest and to not get into a cycle where you can't pay off your card and you continue to just be paying interest. Then lesson 12 was loans. So we looked at loans versus credit cards versus lines of credit and how they are all different. We talked about the dangers of payday loans and check cashing, and how payday loans charge you extremely high fees and it's really, really difficult to get out of the cycle of a payday loan once you get into it, because you just end up owing them so much money. So it's really, really very, very dangerous to use a payday loan. It really keeps you in poverty. It keeps you not having access to enough money. So I strongly encourage you not to. Of course, we all have situations where we're doing the best that we can do. So you know best for yourself, but just be really conscious if you're making that choice. Be really aware of the dangers of it. Check cashing is a little bit better in terms of you aren't going to owe them more money, but you do lose. They could take a fee off, a larger fee off than if you just cash it at a bank. But I understand that it can be complicated and people are choosing to use those services because they don't have any other options. We also talked about the cost of loans in terms of how big or how long your loan is, having a higher interest or lower payments. All it means that you end up paying more interest. And we looked at amortization tables and how that tracks the information about how much of your payments are going towards principal and how much are going towards interest. All right, so that's what we covered up until very recently. Then this last 2 weeks, these are the lessons that we have looked at. So we have lesson 13, where we look at driver's license and insurance. So here in Ontario, we have the graduated licensing system, where it takes you at least 2 years, 20 months to 2 years to get your full license, to make sure that people can really know how to drive the best that they can. They really have an opportunity to learn and experience that before they are a fully licensed driver. So they have support, and that there are rules and regulations that are put that are a little bit more intense on learning drivers. Then we talked about demerit points and that are added to your license if you are found guilty of a traffic ticket offense and are up to 15 points. They vary per charge, but they could be a possible license suspension, and that they're speeding tickets, you have demerit points as well as fees and surcharges. So to be really conscious of that, it's all to deter you from speeding and be a safer driver. And we talked about car insurance and how premiums are raised or lowered depending on the situation, and that car insurance is mandatory. You have to have it here in Ontario in order to be safe, to protect yourself really, so that if you get into an accident, you aren't responsible for financially for paying high bills in terms of medical bills and car repair bills. Then lesson 14 was looking at new and used vehicles. So new cars, you get exactly what you want, but they are expensive. There are extra costs like delivery and administration fees, and it depreciates, it loses value as soon as it is off of the car lot. So depreciation means that new cars lose value, and usually this is about a rate of 15% by 4 years of ownership. So that's just something to take into account if you're buying a new vehicle. Whereas used cars generally can be cheaper, but they may require repairs. And there are extra costs like safety and e-testing to just include in terms of your budget. Lesson 15 was talking about leasing vehicles. So if you're leasing a car, you have to pay, it's like a long-term rental, and there are both pros and cons to it. So you really have to decide what is best for your situation. There isn't a right way to do this. Leasing can work really well for some folks and really doesn't make any sense for others. There's a kilometer surcharge often for leasing. So if you use excess mileage, then you times it by your surcharge rate. So for every extra kilometer above the agreed amount, you end up paying to use that for the use of that car. If you don't go over the usage, then you don't pay a surcharge. So that's really important to remember. That's why it's there. You can stay underneath it. That is best. And then there's also fine print and procedures to be aware of. So if you have to pay a refundable security deposit, you pay that up front, and then you get reimbursed it when you return the vehicle at the end of your lease and the car's in good shape. And then there's also a purchase price at the end of the lease if you are choosing to purchase it. That's going to be based on the current value of the vehicle, that you can then pay it out and have the car. Then looking at vehicle costs for lesson 16. So there's the general user cost of any vehicle, whether you're owning it, if it is new, used, or even if it's leased. There are costs. Some of the leased ones are covered by the leasing company or the warranty, but generally there are gas costs for everybody, maintenance, repairs, insurance. Some of these are monthly costs, some of these are yearly costs. So when you are calculating it, you need to be aware in terms of if you are paying, if it's a monthly cost or a yearly cost, if you need to multiply it by 12 to make it a yearly cost, if you need to divide it by 12 to make it a monthly cost, you need to pay attention to those sorts of things. Talk about fuel efficiency. Now in Canada, it is liters per 100 kilometers. So every vehicle has a rating that will tell you how many liters per 100 kilometers it takes to drive that vehicle. This is a combination number between your driving in the city or in a town versus driving on the highway. Vehicles are more efficient on the highway, driving at a constant speed opposed to stopping and starting in a town or city. Generally, the lower the number, the more efficient the vehicle. And we talked about cost of fuel and how this is dollars per liter, and that you need to calculate the fuel consumption. So first you need to calculate how much fuel you're going to consume over a distance, and then you can calculate your fuel cost, how much it's going to cost you to use up that much fuel. And then finally, we looked at lesson 17, which is traveling distances. So we looked at maps. First, we looked at paper maps and using the provided scale or the given distances to figure out how far places are between. And we estimated distances with technology. So using Google Map and the directions feature, which tells us how far and how long it generally takes to travel from one place to another place. And overall, if you're traveling in bad weather, your travel time is going to be longer. You need to slow down. Basically, in order to be safe, you need there is not a situation, if it's not dry and sunny, then generally you need to slow down in order to be safe. Whether the road is wet, covered in snow, it's currently snowing, it's icy, you're gonna have to slow down to different amounts depending on the situation, but basically slow down. It's gonna take you longer to get places, but it's gonna be safer. You're gonna arrive alive, which is much more important than getting there fast and being dead. That doesn't work. Okay, so that is what we've covered so far. We've covered up to lesson 17. We only have 3 more lessons of new material. So that is a lot that we've covered. It's over 75% of the course, 80% of the course. So that's great. And it's always good to go back and just remember what we've done, because we really have accomplished a lot. Now we're going to do some mixed practice, so that we're going to look to see, because in life we don't necessarily know what our situation is. We need to figure out what kind of tools we have to use. So our first question is, Stan drives for a living and has to have frequent oil changes about every 2 months. After taxes, it costs $48.31 per oil change. So how much does he spend annually on oil changes? So for this question, we know that he has to do every 2 months, he has to do an oil change, which means that in 1 year, which is 12 months, every 2 months, we have to do 12, which is the total number of months divided by every 2. That means that 6 times a year, he's got to do oil changes. So he's going to do 6 times a year. He's going to do an oil change, and they cost $48.31 each time. So times it by 6, and that tells us how much he pays in oil changes in 1 year. So $289.86. $289.86. So that's how much Stan pays in oil changes throughout the course of the whole year, because he has to do 6 of them over the year. So then how much does this cost per month? So because this is for the whole year, on average, if you're budgeting for it, we can say then we're going to take that amount, $289.86, and we're going to divide it by 12, because this is our yearly amount. We want to see how much it is on average monthly. So we're going to take that amount and divide it by 12. And that gets us $24.16 per month. So if Stan is budgeting, he needs to put $24.16 away a month, whether or not he's paying for an oil change that month. But if he puts that down, then that means every time he has an oil change, he's going to have enough money to pay for the oil change. So then if Stan drives 48,270 kilometers in 1 year, how much does the oil change cost him per kilometers? So these are the questions that are really tricky, because it's trying to figure out what are we comparing. So we're comparing cost, so that's our dollars, per kilometers. So that means that we need to do our yearly cost, which is $289.86. So our yearly cost, not our monthly cost, not our individual oil change cost. You need to figure out which one. We're talking about a yearly cost, $289.86 divided by the total number of kilometers, which is 48,270 kilometers. And that's going to tell us how much money is spent per kilometer. So $289.86 divided by 48,270 kilometers, which is equal to 0.006. So 0.006 dollars per kilometer, which is 0.6 cents per kilometer. So less than 1 cent per kilometer. About half a cent per kilometer is how much these oil changes cost him over the course of the year. I don't know why that is useful information, but it's the type of question that's in your IL book, so that's how you would do it. Okay, next question. Calculate the cost of exceeding the speed limit by 21 kilometers an hour in a community safety zone and the number of demerit points. So for this sort of question, looking at demerit points and speeding, I don't expect you to remember this in all of this information. I put for here, for me, I put all of this information on my slide because I don't remember it. I don't remember how many demerit points are per speeding. I don't remember the fines per kilometers. I don't remember the victim service surcharge. So look it up. It is completely fine to have to look it up. It is okay to not have this memorized. So you can look it up in the lesson that off the top of my head, I don't remember which lesson it was. But so you can look it up there. I think that it was lesson number 13, I think. So you can look it up on the internet. You can go back to our PowerPoint, to our videos and look it up there. It is okay. You don't have to have this memorized. I don't expect you to have that in your head. It's completely reasonable to have to look this information up. You store your brain for other things. We need to know how to apply it. That's what's important. So this is the community safety zone fines. So if you're in community safety zone, which is like a residential area or where there's a park, where there's a school, the fines are doubled. The fines are more expensive based on that. So we need to calculate the fine and we need to know the number of demerit points. So the demerit points, we can just look up. We don't have to calculate anything. So here, this chart here tells us the speeding range and the demerit points. So we look, it's 21 kilometers an hour over the speeding limit. So that is here, 16 to 29 kilometers an hour over the speed limit means that it's 3 demerit points. So that we can just look at, it's 3 demerit points for being ticketed at driving this fast. Then to figure out the fine, we need to say, okay, so we look at our kilometers an hour over the limit. So we know it's 21, so that's going to be in this 20 to 34 range. And that means that per kilometer, we're being fined $7.50 for every kilometer that we were driving faster than the speeding limit. So that means that so the speeding fine is 21, because that's how fast we were driving over the speeding limit, times $7.50, because for every kilometer we need to get $7.50. So 21 times 750 is equal to $157.50. 157.50 is what our speeding fine is. So then the victim surcharge, can't remember if that's what it's called exactly. So how that works is that we look at what our fine is and we go and see our fine range. So we say, okay, 157.50. So that is going to be here at between 151 and 200. And so that means that we add an extra surcharge of $35. So we take our 157.50 and we add $35 because we're in that range. And so that means that that's how much we're going to actually have to pay. So 157.50 plus 35 is equal to 192.50. So the total fine is $192.50 and 3 demerit points. So that's how you figure out a speeding question. All right, number 3, how far is it from Hudson to Winnipeg? How long of a drive is it? All right, so for this question, this is a travel distance question because we're trying to figure out how far it is from one place to another. We can look at a map if we have one, if that seems like a good idea to you, or we can use technology. So we are going to use technology. I just search Google Maps is the best place for me. And then you go into Google Maps. My map is here, make it bigger. Okay, so I'm wanting to go from Hudson. So they're giving me, there's two different Hudsons. There's a Hudson in Quebec and there's a Hudson in Sioux Lookout. So I want the Hudson in Sioux Lookout area. That's the one that I want to do. And then I'm going to go to directions. This button here, this blue with an arrow button that says directions underneath it. I'm going to click that. Remember, it always puts in the whatever one you first search in your going to. So if I want to go from Hudson to someplace, then I have to put that in first. I could have put Winnipeg in first and then put in Hudson. Either way is fine. So then I put in Winnipeg and now it shows me how to get there. It shows me two different routes. You can go the back roads and save 3 minutes if you want. Your call, you know the way. I don't, I would not go that way. I don't know. Yeah, I would get lost. It would be much longer, probably. Shortcuts are only work if you actually know them. So here we can see on this blue route, it's going to take us 456 kilometers, which is about 5 hours and 7 minutes if we were to leave right now. If you can change this so that it changes if you wanted to arrive by a certain time, and then it gives you like a range depending on like rush hour or if there's construction or something like that. They can tell you it can change. But for our purposes, it's totally okay. If you were to put, so then here it says 421 kilometers. If you were to put either of those numbers, that's all roughly the correct idea, roughly the right amount. It's okay if it's slightly off. If it's slightly different from what I have, that is completely reasonable. I went back too far. Okay, but that I think gets us what we needed. So how far from Hudson to Winnipeg? It was 456 kilometers, not meters, sorry, kilometers. And it would take about 5 hours of driving time. It's okay if you if you were to say about 5 hours and 15 minutes, you're just going to say 5 hours and 7 minutes, all of those things. If you said 5.5 hours, depending on what time you're driving, all those things would be totally fine. So that is a travel distance question using technology. All right, so here, number 4, Lim earns $15.25 per hour. He works 36 hours a week. Here are his weekly deductions. So his EI is $12.85 per week. CPP is $18.63 per week. Income tax is $57.94 per week. The company pension plan is $24.58 per week, and his health plan is $10.47 per week. So this is like a standard deductions, gross and net pay question. So first we need to determine his gross weekly pay. This gross weekly pay, sorry, put the Y in the wrong spot. So because his gross pay is the total amount he makes, so that is $15.25 times 36 hours. So this is like hourly rate. So we're going to calculate that. $15.25 times 36 hours is $549 a week. So $549 is his gross pay a week. Then his total deductions. So these are all here. These are the deductions. These are how much your employer takes off of your check and pays to various places. They don't keep this money. They pay it to the government, or they pay it to your pension plan. They pay it to your benefits. but they just take those automatically off in order to cover those costs to make sure that you are covered. So we're going to add all those up, and those are deductions. So we have 1285 plus 1863 plus 5794 plus 2458 plus 1047. So in total, weekly, that's $124.47. So the total deductions are 127. My brain, 124.47. 124.47 are the deductions. So that means that the net pay is your gross pay, take away your deductions. So it's 159, take away 124.47. So 549, take away 124.47 is equal to 424.53. 424.53. 424.53 is how much your net pay is, how much you actually, or Lynn would actually take home that each week. And that's how you do a standard deduction gross and net pay question. Right, number 5, calculate the cost of leasing a car, assuming the security deposit will not be returned, and there is an 18-cent per kilometer surcharge. So this is a leasing car question because it says we're leasing a car. So first, the down payment is $3,250. There's a $400 refundable security deposit. We have to pay that upfront, and if we were to get it back, we would subtract it. We are saying that we are not getting it back, so we don't get it subtracted. We're getting it returned. There are 3 years of monthly payments of $379.50 plus HST. The allowable usage of kilometers is 15,500 kilometers per year, and the actual usage was 50,000 kilometers in total. So there's a few things we need to figure out. First, we need to figure out the total payments, the total payments. And then we need to figure out the kilometer surcharge, if there is one. And then we can figure out the total overall. So we're going to do 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so for the total of the payments, we first need to figure out, we can do it in 2 ways. I'm going to figure out what it is, what the HST is. So that means I'm going to do 379.50 times 1.13, right? We times it by 1 so that we add it, we don't have to add it at the end. So 379.50 times 1.13. You could just times it by 0.13 and then add it to 379.50. Both are totally fine. So this is 428.84. 428.84. 428.84. So that is how much you're actually paying each month. But we're paying 3 years of monthly payments. So for 3 years, 3 years is 3 times 12, which is 36. So for 36 payments, we're making a total of 36 payments of $428.84. So we need to multiply our payment amount by 36, so that's the number of payments that we made. So that is $15,438.06. 15,438.06. $15,438.06. Sorry, I had to say the numbers in order to write them down properly. So that's our total payments. So that is part 1 done. How much we actually paid for the payments. Great. The allowable usage. So we have to figure out our kilometer surcharge if there is one. The allowable usage was 15,500 kilometers per year. We had it for 3 years. So we're going to times that by 3 to see how much we actually were allowed over the whole life of the lease. So that is 46,500. So we were allowed to have it, we were allowed to go 46,500 in total. We actually used 50,000. So we had an extra amount. So we do 50,000, take away 46,500. Well, 50,000 take away 46,000 is going to be 4,000 plus another, then we have to subtract another 500. So that's going to be 3,500 extra kilometers. So the cost of that is 18 cents per kilometer. So 3,500 times 0.18, 18 cents is how much we're getting charged, a surcharge for our kilometers, which is $630. So that means our total cost is our down payment, which is 3,250, plus our refundable security deposit, which we didn't get back, so we don't get to subtract it, we just have to add it. So plus 400, plus our total amount of our payments, which was $15,438.06, plus $630 for our kilometer surcharge. So we're going to add all of those together using our calculator. You could do this by hand or mentally if you wanted to. You do not have to. There are no rules in terms of what we are focusing on. Right now, we're understanding this type of question opposed to arithmetic. So it's going to cost us $19,718.06. 19,718.06. 19,718.06. So that is our final amount, our total of the cost of leasing this car for 3 years. All right, number 6, determine the depreciated value of a car with a base price of $24,830 that depreciates 45% in 3 years. So the 3 years part, just as a time length, we don't need to multiply this by anything. This does not happen every year. This 45% happens over the course of the full 3 years. So we don't have to multiply this by 3. That is really important to know. This is happening over the whole time. So what we do is we take our value, 24,830, and we times it by 0.45. That's how much value we have lost. So 24,830 times 0.45 is equal to $11,173.50. 11,173.50. 11,173.50. Okay, so that's how much is the lost value. So the current value is equal to the original value, $24,830, take away the lost value, $11,173.50. So 24,830, take away $11,173.50, and we get $13,656.50. 13,656.50. 13,656.50. And that is the current value after 3 years. The value of the vehicle is $13,656.50. And then, so that was a depreciation value question. Number 7, Jillian has saved $2,500 from her summer job. She decides to save the money in an account earning 3.7% simple interest each year. So how much will she have after 2 years? So this is a simple interest. It says simple interest. So this is a simple interest question. So I equals P, our T is our formula, which you can totally look up. You don't have to have it memorized. So our 3, we have to look at what our amounts are, our variables. So how much interest? So we're looking for I, that's what we're solving for. What is our principal? 2,500 is how much we start with. What is our rate? 3.7%, which is equal to 0.037, right? We have to turn it into a decimal, divided by 100. And our time is 2 years. So time is T. So then we put those values into our formula. So I equals PRT is 2,500 times 0.037 times 2, which is equal to, do that on our calculator. You can totally do it by hand if you felt like it. I do not feel like it today. $185. So the interest that Jillian earns in 2 years is $185. So how much money will Jillian have in total at the end of the 2 years? So that is the total amount is equal to the principal, how much she started with, plus the interest. So that is 2,500 plus $185. So that one I can do in my head is $2,685 is how much you will have at the end of the 2 years. And that is how you do a simple interest question. All right, so we have completed lessons 1 through 3. We're halfway through unit 4, not units 1 through 3, halfway through unit 4. So you should be able to submit, if you haven't already, lessons 1 through 17 for marking. Remember, the key questions are the ones with the key icon, and they are the ones to do, showing all of your work, doing all of the questions. Please submit them as soon as you can in order to set yourself up for success to finish the credit in these next 2 weeks. If you have any questions or concerns, as always, please reach out. This is what I'm here for. My job is 100% to support you. So please connect. I continue to try to reach out to folks, but if you don't reach out back to me or I miss you, you need to advocate for yourself. I'm here to support you, but if I don't know you need support, it's really hard for me to do it. You can call me at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. My email address is bronwyn.slate, which is spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Or you can connect with me through Facebook at Wahsa. Remember our YouTube channel, all of our lessons are there under, also the YouTube channel is called Wahsa. All of our lessons are found under a playlist called MEL3E. So you can get access to all of them there. My hours are Monday through Friday, 9 till 4. So that is the best time to get a hold of me directly, though I teach the first hour and the last hour of the day. So if you do miss me, leave me a message, send me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are feeling comfortable and confident with your material. Have a lovely weekend, and we will talk next week. Miigwech.